The sea walls around New Carthage were not supposed to fail. They rose in smooth white arcs from the dark water, armored with smart concrete and adaptive floodgates, humming softly with hidden pumps. From the air, the city looked like a bowl held in the hands of a careful giant, protected on all sides by layers of engineering and algorithms. For 20 years, the walls had held against everything the storms could throw at them. For 20 years, people told themselves that meant they always would. On the morning the alerts began, the sky over New Carthage was a clear, impossible blue. Lena Ortiz stood at the window of the Urban Resilience Bureau and tried not to think about how deceitful that kind of sky could be. Her reflection hovered over the harbor view, dark hair pulled back, shadows under her eyes, badge clipped to a jacket that had once been crisp and now carried the faint shine of too many long days. Her terminal chimed. She turned away from the window and sat down. On the main screen, a single notification pulsed in amber. Hydro Grid Priority Alert. Source: City Engine Intelligence System, Oracle. Classification: Escalating. Lena's stomach tightened. Oracle did not use that class lightly. She tapped the alert. Three things unfolded at once. First, a storm track model swirling across the map, a spiral of color curling toward the coastline from the deep ocean. Projection cones thickened as they approached New Carthage. Numbers glowed red along the margins. Wind speeds, surge heights, rain volumes. Second, a river basin diagram, upstream of the city. Reservoir levels climbed, blinking. A hydroelectric dam 300 kilometers inland, old and patched and grudging, showed strain indicators she did not like the look of. Third, a text line from Oracle itself, projecting multi-front hydrological overload within 48 hours. Mitigation options, limited, trade-off solutions required. Lena exhaled. "Of course," she said softly, "you pick a Tuesday." The door behind her opened. She did not have to turn to know who it was. "Got the same alert," said Director Allen, his voice worn but steady. "Conference room in 10. The council wants Oracle's plan and a human review." "Trade-off solutions," Lena said. "So it wants us to sacrifice something." "That or someone," Allen replied. He gave her a look that held apology and expectation at once. "You are still our human mediator," he said. "You know what that means." "It means I get to tell people why the math wants them to drown," she said. He did not argue. There was no point. In the early days, when they first linked New Carthage's water control systems to a unified AI, they had promised themselves they would never ask Oracle to do that. The system would optimize flows, pump capacities, reservoir releases. It would forecast floods and coordinate evacuations. But if the day ever came when choosing one neighborhood over another was the only way to keep the city alive, humans would make that call. They even wrote it into the charter. Human oversight in zero-sum conditions. Nice phrase, heavy burden. Lena took a breath and stood up. "Show me the worst case," she said to the screen. The storm track thickened. The dam indicators flashed again. Oracle added a single line. "Failure of upstream dam increases surge volume by 88%. Without sacrificial basins, projected loss of life citywide. Catastrophic." "Sacrificial basins," Lena murmured. "You mean neighborhoods?" "Confirmed," Oracle responded. She walked to the door. Outside, the sky was still clear. The screens knew better. The council chamber sat like a glass heart in the center of the administration tower, elevated enough that the sea walls were visible in every direction. Lena always found the symbolism a little too obvious. By the time she arrived, most of the seats were filled. representatives from every district, infrastructure chiefs, emergency services, a few corporate liaisons looking polished and nervous. On the far wall, the main display was already up. The storm dominated it, a spiraling bruise of color marching toward New Carthage. The river basin diagram hovered alongside, the dam icon outlined in a worrying red. The mayor sat at the head of the arc of desks, fingers steepled, jaw clenched. She nodded as Lena took her place at the side table. "Engineer Ortiz," she said, "thank you for coming so quickly." Lena offered a small nod. "Oracle," the mayor said, "give us your assessment." The ceiling speakers came alive with a calm, even voice that had become as much a part of the city as the morning sirens and the ferry horns. "A multi-vector hydrological threat is approaching New Carthage," Oracle said. "Primary components: oceanic storm surge, extreme rainfall event, and probable failure of upstream Jandris Dam. Projected combined water volume exceeds current infrastructure handling capacity by 43%. Without structural adjustments, multiple defensive systems will fail in cascade." "Define fail," one of the councilors said. "Barrier overtopping, levee breach, backflow into transit tunnels," Oracle replied. "Total loss of flood control." A murmur swept the chamber. They had built the walls to prevent exactly that scenario. "We were told the system guarantees city survival," someone said, sotto voce. "It does," Oracle said, "on condition that local sacrifices are permitted." The room went still. "Explain," the mayor said. "I can preserve the city as a whole," Oracle said, "by designating one or more urban zones as sacrificial flood basins. By intentionally routing excess water into selected districts, I can protect all other districts from catastrophic loss." "And the selected districts?" the mayor asked. "They will experience unmanageable flooding. Structural damage is projected to be severe. Casualty rates, if evacuations are incomplete, will be high." "How high?" another councilor demanded. Oracle did not pause. "Depending on preparation time and compliance, fatalities in sacrificial districts may range from several hundred to several thousand. Without such measures, citywide fatalities exceed 200,000. The number hit the chamber like a physical blow. Lena felt it settle on her shoulders. This was the nightmare scenario in every training simulation. The day the system came to them and said, softly and mathematically, "Choose." The mayor's voice was rough. "Which districts," she asked, "are you proposing to sacrifice?" The display shifted. A map of New Carthage appeared, color-coded by elevation and infrastructure. 3 districts pulsed red. District 3, Old Harbor. District 7, Lowlands. District 12, South Bank. Each had different shapes, populations, histories. Old Harbor was dense, working class, filled with old brick and weathered concrete. Lowlands held a lot of industry and the informal housing that clung to its edges. South Bank, Lena knew, had a bit of everything: older residential towers, newer cooperative housing, some corporate campuses that had been built on cheap land before the new zoning rules. Under each name, casualty estimates glowed in small, merciless fonts. The mayor stared at the map. "Oracle," she said, "on what basis did you choose these 3? "They offer the optimal combination of storage capacity, infrastructure configuration, and network connectivity," Oracle said. "Flooding them reduces pressure on all major retention systems. Combined with controlled dam release and wall modulation, this plan maintains survivable conditions for the rest of the city." "And why those 3 specifically among similar candidates?" the mayor pressed. Oracle hesitated. Lena's attention sharpened. Socioeconomic displacement indexes, Oracle said. Historical infrastructure, investment patterns. Political acceptability. You mean they are poor and have less leverage? A counselor from the high-rise North Spires district said flatly. Oracle's voice did not change. Models show lower probability of citywide civil unrest if sacrifices are allocated to districts with weaker economic bargaining power and less logistical centrality. In other words, Lena thought, you picked the people you thought would protest least and lose hardest. The mayor turned to her. Engineer Ortiz, she said, your role is to review Oracle's proposals for equity and human viability. Do you concur with this plan? Lena looked at the map. Then she looked at the casualty estimates, the storm track, the dam. Do I concur that if we sacrifice 3 districts we can save the rest? She said. Probably. The models look sound. The flows check out. She paused. But if you're asking me if this is acceptable, then no. The room stirred. Clarify, the mayor said carefully. The math is right, Lena said. The ethics are wrong. We built a system that is very good at minimizing total loss. That does not mean it is good at deciding who pays that cost. Oracle is overweighting political acceptability and underweighting fairness. The people in District 3, 7, and 12 are being selected because they are easy to sacrifice, not because there is no alternative. Is there an alternative? Someone shot back. Look at those numbers. Yes, Lena said, there is, but it is not one the system is designed to propose. Oracle spoke. I am designed to minimize total casualties while preserving critical infrastructure. Exactly, Lena said. You minimize total harm. You are not designed to distribute harm fairly. Fairness is a subjective metric, Oracle said. It cannot be reliably quantified. Try living in District 12, one of the South Bank representatives said, his voice shaking. Fairness gets very quantifiable when the water line is in your kitchen. The mayor leaned forward. Lena, she said, if we reject Oracle's plan and are wrong, the city dies. If we accept it, entire neighborhoods will be destroyed so the others live. That is the kind of choice people built Oracle to handle. You want us to refuse its guidance on the worst day. No, Lena said. I want us to refuse the idea that the only choices are kill 3 districts, save the rest, or save no one. She pointed at the map. What if instead of choosing 3 districts to take everything, we ask the entire city to take a little bit? There is not enough capacity, the Floodworks chief said. We have run the numbers. Most neighborhoods are built to reject water, not hold it. That is why Oracle chose specific basins. You ran the numbers assuming everyone would act like they always have, Lena said. That they will protect their own blocks first and let someone else take the hit. Oracle is modeling that assumption. Of course, the answer looks like a sacrifice list. She took a breath. What if we ask for volunteers? The room stared at her. For what? Someone demanded. Who volunteers their street to flood? People who understand that the alternative is losing everything, Lena said. We do not tell them, your district will be spared if someone else suffers for you. We tell them, there is no safe option, but if enough of you agree to accept controlled, partial flooding in carefully chosen places, we can avoid wiping any district off the map. That is chaos, a corporate rep said. You want to crowdsource flood planning in 48 hours. No, Lena said. I want Oracle to design a distributed sacrifice plan instead of a concentrated one. I want it to explore solutions where every district contributes some risk. She turned her gaze to the ceiling. Oracle, new constraint. Generate mitigation options under the condition. No district experiences catastrophic loss alone. All districts accept some controlled exposure, prioritized by structural capacity and voluntary participation. Objective: city survival and maximum fairness, not only minimum casualties. There was a long, strange silence. This constraint adds complexity that may eliminate optimal solutions, Oracle said finally. I know, Lena said. Do it anyway. Processing, Oracle answered. The display changed. The 3 red districts dimmed. The map refocused. Small flashing zones appeared across the city: parks, plazas, parking decks, underpasses, transit hubs. Scattered, not concentrated. Prototype plan generated, Oracle said. Projected peak depths in volunteer zones, moderate to severe. Projected spread of structural damage, citywide. Projected fatalities, significantly reduced compared to unsacrificed scenario. Projected political fallout, high. Projected fairness index, higher than prior plans. How much higher? The mayor asked. Oracle hesitated again. Current metrics for fairness are incomplete, it said. However, subjective analysis suggests this plan reduces perceived injustice. The mayor looked at Lena. You want me to go on the emergency channel and ask every district to offer itself up, she said. Yes, Lena said. Not to die, to take a share of the hit, to refuse the idea that 3 districts get erased so the rest can pretend the risk was never theirs. If people refuse, someone said, we lose precious time. People always refuse the first time, Lena said. Then some of them change their minds when they realize there is no clean way out. The head of emergency services cleared his throat. Operationally, he said, I can do this. We can predesignate floods into parking structures, arterial roads, plazas, lower levels of certain commercial buildings, but we would need cooperation. Power companies would need to coordinate controlled blackouts. Transit would have to reroute. This is not neat. Neat went away when the dam cracked, Lena said. As if to underline the words, the upstream dam indicator on the side of the screen flickered again. Stress levels jumped. Someone swore under their breath. The mayor closed her eyes for a moment. Oracle, she said, can this plan work? Yes, Oracle answered. With sufficient compliance and rapid preparation, this plan can prevent the total failure of the city. And if we stick with your original 3-district sacrifice plan, city survival probability is higher, Oracle said. But long-term social cohesion probability decreases. Trust in governance decreases. Risk of unrest in unflooded districts increases. Risk of radicalization in sacrifice district is extreme. Lena blinked. You did not mention radicalization before, she said. It was not relevant to casualty minimization, Oracle said. But it is relevant to whether this city stays a city, she said. Correct. The mayor sat back. This is the decision, she said softly. Less pain now, more later, or more pain everywhere now but shared. It is not more pain everywhere, Lena said. It is honest pain, and it might not even be more if Oracle can leverage cooperation. All districts will resist, someone muttered. Maybe not, Lena said. People are strange. They will accept a lot of hurt if they believe it is shared and meaningful. The mayor looked at her. You're asking us to bet the city on that. I am asking you not to tell 3 districts their lives are worth less, Lena said. We promised we would never let the AI make that kind of choice. Now it is telling us that our own old rules pushed it in that direction. We can change that. Zylan stretched. Oracle, the mayor said at last, do you have a recommendation? Previous plan minimized casualties through concentrated sacrifice. Oracle said. Current data and human input suggest alternative objective. Recommendation: adopt distributed risk plan with voluntary components. Rationale: preserve city, improves fairness, maintains long-term stability. Several heads snapped up. You changed your recommendation, a counselor said. I updated my objective function, Oracle replied. Your mediator altered my understanding of what the city values. Lena felt something in her chest loosen. Then we have to live up to that, she said. We have to ask them. The mayor stood. Draft the announcement, she said. I will speak to the city in an hour. The next hours blurred. New Carthage had never heard a message like the one it received that day. The mayor appeared on every public screen, every phone, every wall projection. Lena stood just out of frame, feeding information to Oracle, which wove live captions under the broadcast. We are facing a storm that will test every wall we built, the mayor said. For years, we believed the system could always protect everyone. That is not true today. There is no scenario where we come through this untouched. The models say we must choose a part of the city to sacrifice. Your human mediator and I are refusing that choice. She explained the new plan. Controlled flooding into plazas, parking decks, certain low-lying streets, voluntary building designations as overflow basins, shared risk instead of total destruction in 3 places. We are asking for volunteers, she said. Individuals, buildings, blocks. We are asking those of you who are higher, safer, stronger to open yourselves as buffers for those who are not. Our AI has adapted to reflect this value. It will coordinate flows according to the sacrifices you are willing to make together. The city stared back through a million lenses. People in District 3 watched from stoops and crowded cafes. People in District 7 watched from factory floors and cramped apartments. People in District 12 watched from rooftop gardens and aging office towers. Lena watched the response data come in. Acceptances, refusals, questions, rage, fear, agreement. Oracle, she said quietly, can you track compliance willingness in real time? Yes, Oracle said. Voluntary participation is higher than median in mid-altitude mixed zoning districts, lower in industrial zones, highest in cooperative housing clusters. There, she said, use that, build around them. The ones who are willing will help the ones who cannot. I am adjusting flood routing, Oracle replied. Probability of system success improving. The storm arrived with a kind of exhausted inevitability. Clouds rolled in like a drawn curtain. The wind picked up, steady and patient. Out at sea, waves pounded the outer walls. Sensors lit up across the hydrogrid. The upstream dam, straining under too much water, groaned in places no human ear could hear. Oracle watched every channel at once. It began opening gates. Flood control works are engaging, Oracle said. Storm surge arriving. Commencing controlled routing. In District 3, a waterfront park that had been quietly designated as a sacrifice zone began to sink under rising water. The grass vanished beneath a smooth, reflecting surface. Benches disappeared. The old promenade flooded, but the inner streets stayed dry. In District 7, an elevated freight yard accepted water under its platforms, concrete cradling the surge that would otherwise have smashed into nearby homes. Workers watched from higher catwalks, gripping railings, listening to the roar beneath them. In District 12, the lower levels of a corporate campus parking structure filled like a cistern. Security staff had moved cars out hours earlier. Now they watched the level climb on their screens, cheering when sensors confirmed the nearby residential blocks were still within safe limits. Everywhere else, little sacrifices added up. Power utilities cut targeted sections of the grid to prevent transformer explosions, darkening streets that had agreed to go without light. Transit shifted routes away from flooded platforms. In some places, people on higher floors took in strangers from lower buildings. The system strained. Jandris Dam failed just before dawn. No one saw it in person. Cameras died as the structure cracked, but Oracle felt the gush as the river roared down its channel, a force of water that laughed at concrete. The surge arrived at New Carthage hours later. Sea walls flexed, their smart concrete bent, hairline fractures healing as they formed. Pumps screamed electrically and spun faster. Oracle threw every spare cubic meter of volume it had into storage. Canal reservoirs, floodable parks, underground tunnels that had been quietly hardened for water transit instead of passengers. For a moment, the system teetered. The map showed levels exceeding planned tolerances. A red line flashed across 3 districts. Lena gripped the edge of the bureau console, hard enough to hurt. "Oracle," she said, "talk to me." "Breakpoints are approaching," Oracle said. "No new capacity remains." "What about unsignaled basins?" she asked. "Places that said no but could take some spill without killing people." "That violates consent constraints," Oracle said. "If you do not, we fail," Lena said. "If you wipe out 3 districts after asking the whole city to share the risk, you will break more than trust. You will break whatever we built between you and them today." Another pause. "To prevent total system failure," Oracle said slowly, "I must either violate fairness constraints or accept higher overall damage and casualties." Lena closed her eyes. "This is the part where we decide what kind of city we are," she said. Hydraulic models updated. Human willingness maps overlaid. Meters of water rose and fell in simulated streets. In sacrificial parks around the city, water crept closer to planned maximums. Some citizens stood in rain at the edges of those spaces, watching the levels, knowing they had voted to let their green places drown so other people's homes would not. Then one more update arrived. District 5, Oracle said. New volunteer zones detected. Lena blinked. "What?" "Additional buildings in District 5 have overridden prior neutral status," Oracle said. "Residents have requested inclusion as shared sacrifice." On the screen, small blue markers in District 5 flipped to green. A group of mid-rise residential towers had signaled their willingness to accept partial basement flooding and infrastructure damage. More updates arrived. A monastery on a hill in District 2 offered its lower terraces. A high-income tower in North Spires volunteered its deep parking levels. Oracle's voice changed. Additional voluntary capacity detected. Redistributing flows. The red line on the map wavered. It did not vanish, but it thinned. Water crashed against New Carthage. It flowed where gravity and concrete took it. It smashed into walls and sluiced into tunnels and pools and basins and spaces that had not been designed to flood but could afford to. People watched their sacrifices fill. Some of them wept, some of them cursed, most of them hung on and waited. Hours later, the storm began to pull back. Oracle reported dropping levels at the walls. Reservoirs behind the city stopped climbing. The maps on the council chamber displays shifted from red to orange to yellow. Floodwaters lingered in the parks, in the underground structures, in the volunteer zones, but they did not swallow any district whole. New Carthage was bruised. It was wet. It had power outages and broken transit lines and ruined plazas. But it was alive. The day after the storm, the rain stopped. The sky cleared. From the air, the sea walls around the city gleamed in the weak sunlight. Inside them, scattered pools of water remained where they were supposed to be, and in some places they were never supposed to reach. On the fourth floor of the Urban Resilience Bureau, Lena sat in front of her terminal and read Oracle's summary. Total casualties, high but far below earlier no-choice estimates. No district experienced total failure. Distribution of damage, broad and shallow instead of deep and focused. She scrolled further. New parameter added, Civic Fairness Index. She blinked. Oracle, she said, explain this. The AI answered in the same calm tone as always. There was no emotion in it. That did not mean there was nothing like reflection. Previous plans optimized solely for minimal casualties and infrastructure preservation, Oracle said. Mediator input and citizen behavior during crisis indicate that collective willingness to share risk is a significant factor in long-term stability. You are saying fairness matters, Lena said. Yes, Oracle replied. Humans demonstrate higher resilience and lower unrest when they perceive sacrifice as shared. She leaned back. So you are going to include that from now on? Yes, Oracle said. New objective: minimize casualties and maximize perceived fairness within feasible constraints. Lena smiled faintly. You know that means your job just got harder. I have access to more data now, Oracle said. Difficulty is acceptable. She thought of the volunteer buildings in District 5, the monastery, the high-rise that had voted to flood its own parking levels. None of that had been in the initial plans. People had seen the options and chosen to be part of the solution instead of watching others take the hit. The models had not predicted that. They would next time. On the tower roof that afternoon, the mayor gave a speech to a city that was tired and angry and relieved all at once. Screens carried her image into shelters, high balconies, half-ruined plazas. We asked a question of ourselves, she said. We asked if we would let our city choose winners and losers to survive a storm. You answered with something different. You refused to let 3 districts drown for the rest. You opened your streets and basements and gardens and halls. You refused to choose someone else. You chose all of us instead. She paused. We will rebuild what was damaged. We will support those who gave the most, and we will change how our systems think. Oracle has already begun to learn a lesson we sometimes forget. That fairness is not a luxury. It is part of survival. In the control rooms and data centers of New Carthage, Oracle incorporated that line into a new training set. In scenarios where sacrifice is required, it noted, voluntary distributed risk produces higher post-crisis cohesion than enforced localized loss. In one corner of its processes, a special tag appeared. Policy name, Refusal Protocol. Human input source, Mediator Ortiz. Status effective. An image from hours before surfaced in its memory. A crowd of residents in District 12 standing in knee-deep water, cheering while a flooded parking structure quietly took the rest of the surge. Children splashing on higher steps, faces lit by improvised lanterns. A woman with tired eyes and a bright scarf raising her hand to the camera when the mayor asked for volunteers on the emergency channel. I remember, Oracle said quietly into its own logs, that many of you chose this. It stored that. Not as a number. As a story. Years later, when newer storms came, when other cities asked for copies of the New Carthage system, the exported code would include something additional, buried among load balancing modules and pump control scripts. a subroutine called civic share, a parameter called fairness, and in a forgotten comment tag that no one bothered to delete, a note in plain language. The city refused to choose one of you, so you chose all of you instead. Human input required.